Tuberoza was known as a seductive narcotic among Aztecs, and they used to put it in chocolates. When it arrived to Europe, it was also known as a flower that awakens sexual desires. In Renaissance Italy, virgin girls were forbidden to walk out at night during the blooming period of tuberose, just to prevent them from having these sexual desires and losing their virginity. Many perfumers admit that replicating the natural smell of this flower is one of the most challenging tasks, despite that the scent is very opulent and it continues exhaling even after 48 hours of picking the flowers. I would like to start with a battle of two fragrances that are practically identical to one another. And this will be a fragrance called Narcotic Venus by the brand called Nasomatto. Surprisingly, the cover of this fragrance looks like it was made in the basement, but in fact it's a very expensive fragrance that has a really high concentration of perfume, and I really like the design of their bottles. This is 30 ml, and as you see, I have already used half of it because I have been really enjoying it a lot this spring. And another fragrance that you can call a dupe, but I would probably call it a clone of this fragrance, is called Tuberoza by the brand Nishane or Nishane. So today I'm gonna wear them side by side and I will report you on their performance, on the notes and everything I think about the two comparing to each other. Let's see. So this one will be on my left hand side and this one will be on my right hand side. Both of the fragrances have a simple tuberose mixed with lilies, and I think I get mostly lilies from both of them, but none of the two has excessive sweetness that we often associate with tuberose. And the two have different names, but I think both names reflect the simplicity. This one is just called Tuberoza, and Narcotic Venus, I think, is referring to a naked Venus coming out of the waves, because there are no layers in here. It's just simple nudity, femininity, and sensuality just in the bottle. Both of them, they have approximately the same level of intensity on my scale of intensity, which is not very strong, but at the same time, it's strong enough to impress people around you and probably to last long. At the opening, the slight difference I have is that Tuberoza feels a bit like candy, and Narcotic Venus is more watery. And by watery, I don't mean aquatic by any means. It just makes me think of a lily pond that smells very green, because the smell of water lilies is very, very delicate. So it's more green stems of flowers that comes out from the beginning. I have been wearing these fragrances simultaneously for the past 2 hours. I have Tuberoza Nishane on my left wrist and I have Narcotic Venus by Nasomatto on my right wrist. And I have been smelling both wrists every 5 minutes during the past hours. And I had different kinds of associations going in my mind. So let me tell you about these very, very slight differences. While I was wearing both fragrances, I did some reading about the two, and I found out that both fragrances are extraits de parfum, which means that they have the highest concentration of perfumes. Nishane puts in their description that they use a Mexican tuberose, while Nasomatto keeps the origin of their tuberose secret. With time, Narcotic Venus becomes more rounded and more delicate in a way, but it remains very cold. It feels like it has a touch of rain in very cold weather. And I think the floral balance goes more towards lilies, and this fragrance starts reminding me of Baiser Volé by Cartier, which is a fragrance I love as well. Both fragrances have a certain elegance in their simplicity. Now, when it comes to spices that are listed in Narcotic Venus, I don't really get those spices here. It feels more like a touch of fougère. But that touch of fougère is even stronger in Baiser Volé. And I think it is even stronger in Tuberoza by Nishane. And the spicy touch here feels like a mix of marigold flowers with a davana herb, which is not really spicy, but as I said, it feels like a touch of fougère. When it comes to the floral mix, apart from marigold, there are not many other floral interferences. It still remains tuberose and lilies. But compared to the tuberose and lilies mix of Nasomatto, Nishane made its tuberose a bit warmer. I cannot say that it's a warm, spicy fragrance, but it's just a little warmer than a very cold perfume of Nasomatto. When it comes to the base, Nishane uses amber, and I think that amber supports and uplifts the tuberose in this fragrance, and very, very light sweet notes that are present in here, while the tuberose of Nasomatto does not have that support and it just becomes more delicate. However, it does not prevent it from being very long-lasting. An interesting association that I had while wearing these perfumes is a sense of purity and cleanness. Especially this is true for the fragrance by Nishane. And I don't want to give you a negative association, but it slightly reminded me the smell of feminine hygiene products by Always, the ones that are unscented actually. That scent memory is very, very distant. It maybe takes only 1% of the fragrance Tuberoza, and it's barely present in Narcotic V. So despite all the differences that I tell you about, these fragrances are not even dupes, they are really clones. The differences that I was telling you about in this video are really tiny, and most people would not even notice them. What I would like to point out in the conclusion is the radiance of these fragrances. Narcotic Venus has an extreme radiating power at the beginning, but then it continues slowing down very gradually till it totally becomes flat. And Tuberoza by Nishane is not as bright at the beginning, but it keeps its intensity on the same level for a few hours, and only then it starts going down. And when it goes down, a very interesting thing happens. The very last ray of light is amber, and this amber is very sharp. This sharp amber, which I think is amber musk or a mix of amber and musk, is very typical for most of Nishane fragrances towards the dry down. In this particular case, it would not bother anyone because the level of intensity at this point is about 1 or 2, so you probably would not even feel this sharpness of amber in the base. This video will just be the beginning of my journey into tuberose land that is so enchanting and awakens sexual desires. Stay tuned.